You're watching Study with Sudhir. We are looking at The Merchant of Venice. We are looking at Act 2, Scene 8. Now, why is this scene, which is very short, why is this significant? Because it is significant because it kind of makes the losses of Antonio and Shylock almost run parallel to each other. Antonio, because his two friends Salarino and Salanio observe, they talk about the fact that a ship from Venice has actually run aground on the English Channel, and they are kind of fearing, they are apprehensive, they are concerned that this ship could actually belong to Antonio, which would mean that the Merchant of Venice could have suffered huge losses on sea. Number two, Shylock is obviously very disturbed from an emotional point of view because his daughter Jessica has eloped with Lorenzo along with a lot of jewelry, right? So he's concerned and disturbed and upset at both the emotional loss of his daughter as well as the financial loss, right? Remember in Act 2, Scene 5, at the end Jessica says that you will lose your daughter, I will lose her father. So in that sense, snapping all ties with her father, Shylock. So the scene starts in a street in Venice with Salarino and Salanio. Salarino says, "Why man, I saw Bassanio under sail, with him is Graciano gone along, and in their ship I am sure Lorenzo is not." So basically says that I saw Bassanio sail away along with Graciano, but I wasn't sure if Lorenzo was on the ship. Salanio says that wicked Jew, that is Shylock, he got the Duke to actually listen to his complaints, and the Duke went with him in order to search for Bassanio's ship. Salarino says he got there a bit too late. When they reached there, it was too late because the ship was already sailing. But once he got there, the Duke learned that Lorenzo and Jessica, that is his lover Jessica, Shylock's daughter, were together in a gondola, a boat of sorts, a flat bottom boat used on the canals of Venice, which is essentially a city with a lot of these kind of waterways used for transport. In any case, he says Antonio had assured the Duke that they were not with Bassanio on the ship, right? Salanio says, I have never ever seen such confused emotions, and he calls him a dog. Shylock a dog, yet another kind of occasion where Shylock is referred to as a dog by Antonio and his friends, Antonio's friends in particular, right? So he says that the Jew dog Shylock was actually shouting on the streets of Venice. He says, "My daughter, oh my ducats, oh my daughter, fled with the Christian, oh my Christian ducats, justice, the law, my ducats, and my daughter, a seal bag, 2 seal bags of ducats." So he's talking about the loss of his daughter, the loss of his money in the same vein, and that says a lot about Shylock's personality and bent of mind. So he says he was shouting about how his daughter along with the ducats ran away with a Christian. So 3 different elements coming to the fore as far as Shylock's personality is concerned. He says justice, the law, my ducats, and my daughter. He says, what were the jewels? 2 stones, 2 rich and precious stones, stolen by my daughter. Justice, find the girl. She had the stones upon her and the ducats. So he not only wants his daughter back, but he also wants her for the reason because she has taken away the money. She has taken away 2 precious stones, 2 rich and precious stones with her, and that's what he's really concerned and angry about. Salarino says, I know all the boys in Venice are following him, yelling his stones, his daughter, and his ducats. So they're almost like teasing him on the streets of Venice. Now, Salanio says, let good Antonio look, he keep his day, or he shall pay for this. So he says, I do hope Antonio manages to repay the loan to Shylock, otherwise he will be made to suffer for having taken the loan. Salarino, yes, that's a good point. I did speak with a Frenchman yesterday who told me in the narrow seas that part the French and the English, that is the English Channel, there miscarried a vessel of our country richly fraught. Richly fraught means with a lot of expensive goods. It was laden with a lot of expensive goods on the English Channel, and it was wrecked on the English Channel. I thought upon Antonio when he told me and wished in silence that it were not his, So I thought about Antonio when this Frenchman told him about this accident that had happened on the English Channel, and I really hoped and prayed it did not belong to Antonio. So Salanio says, you were best to tell Antonio what you hear, yet do not suddenly, for it may grieve him. So you should tell Antonio what you have heard, but do not kind of break the news suddenly, because it may cause him a lot of sadness and unhappiness. Salarino says, a kinder gentleman treads not this earth. I saw Bassanio and Antonio part. Bassanio told him he would make some speed of his return. He answered, do not so, slubber not business for my sake, Bassanio, and stay the very ripening of the time. And for the Jew's bond which he hath of me, let it not enter in your mind of love. Be merry and employ your chiefest thoughts to courtship and such fair ostents of love. So basically, this particular paragraph, this particular piece of dialogue by Salarino is very important, because it tells you a lot many things. It tells you what they feel about Antonio. It tells you what Antonio said to Bassanio and for what purpose. So if you get a question, it actually gives the opportunity to the person who sets the paper to actually ask you a lot many questions, right? So these pieces of dialogue, even if they have been said by a minor character, not any of the main protagonists in the play like an Antonio, a Portia, Bassanio or Shylock, they actually give the opportunity to the examiner to ask you a lot of questions. So please mark these lines said by Salarino. So he says, there is no guy, there is no person who is more nice in this world than Antonio, right? So he says, I actually saw Bassanio and Antonio bid goodbye to each other before Bassanio is going to Belmont. So he says Bassanio told him that he would try to hurry back, because he obviously knows this spot of bother that Antonio is in. But Antonio answered that do not rush, do not do so, and do not kind of do a bad job, a slubber. Slubber means, do not do your work in a sloppy manner for my sake, because you are in a hurry to get back to Venice from Belmont. So he says stay until every bit of the task is actually finished. And as for the Jew's bond, that is Shylock's bond, let that not kind of be a factor as far as your plans for marriage to win Portia's hand is concerned. Let that not be a factor. Be happy, be merry, and employ your chiefest thoughts. Basically, be happy and focus your thoughts on what you need to do, on the woman you love, and how to win her hand in marriage, right? And then he says his eyes being big with tears, and then Antonio had started to become very emotional and there were tears in his eyes, and he turned his face away. Turning his face, he put his hand behind him, and with affection wondrous sensible, he wrung Bassanio's hand, and so they parted. So basically, he says he turned his face away and then he shook Bassanio's hand with a lot of affection, and that's how they parted. Okay, so wondrous sensible means basically very tender, very wonderfully tender, right? Salanio says, I think he loves life only because of Bassanio. It also shows the bond between Bassanio and Antonio, the theme of friendship, which is very, very central to the Merchant of Venice. Let's go and find him and cheer him up. So the two of them depart then. So basically, what really happens out here is that, one, we come to know that the Shylock has complained to the Duke. So that's something which is happening parallelly, and this is kind of also will lead us to the trial scene which unfolds in the Act 4. Also, Shylock, it shows about how Shylock reacted. It has not been shown in first person, but we are told about it by Antonio's two friends, about how Shylock was reacting on the streets of Venice to the elopement of his daughter, how he was worried about the jewelry and the money that she had stolen along with having eloped. And the second part is about the parting scene between Antonio and Bassanio. So these two aspects make Act 2 Scene 8 very important. And as I said, if a googly is thrown at you by actually testing you on a piece of dialogue said by two minor characters, it's not because Salanio and Salarino are important characters in this play, but because of what they speak in the play. That is what will actually make it quite possible that you could be tested on something like this. If not ICSE class 10, definitely ICSE class 9 students will need to take this particular scene very, very importantly. Okay, so that is what happens in Act 2 Scene 8. We have done Act 2 Scene 9, which is the Prince of Aragon casket scene, and with this we have come to an end of the entire Act 2 as well. Thank you very much for watching.